Hello, friends. I hope everyone is having a wonderful holiday season. So, I made this printable for you guys to download and print out and add to your creative journal, in of which there is a link below if you want to learn how to make the same journal that I'm using. And the printouts that I'm providing are optimized for this size, but you can, print it out and use it on any kind of paper you want. Feel free to do whatever you want. Whatever you want. So there's something I want to talk about that's been on my mind a lot lately. And what it is there is this new condition that's recently come about called Post Acute Covid Syndrome. And, it's the COVID long haulers, people that have recovered and still experience different symptoms. And I've noticed that those symptoms or the after, I don't know what you would call them, I guess the after effects, the flare-ups, I guess symptoms. I don't know if that's the right word, but I've noticed that they are very similar to some of the symptoms that people with fibromyalgia experience. And also some of the things that people with autoimmune disorders. Actually, I've recently read that doctors are finding that there's a link between some autoimmune disorders and viruses and bacteria. And I think they're finding out that I'm going to use a fancy word. This is the word of the day for everyone. The etiology, which basically means the origin or the cause. The etiology of these autoimmune disorders could be bacteria and or viruses. And etiology, that's actually, I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with that word, because if you've ever read any of your medical reports, that's often referenced as it's. I usually I think this is a good rule. This is what I do, at least. I make it a rule that if I'm reading something and I don't know a word, I always look it up. And I always find the meaning of it. And I don't know, it just works. I think it's just something that I do. But yeah, a lot of times when you're reading the medical reports, there seems to be like this language within like the whole medical community that is just so, sometimes can be intimidating for people. And I don't think it should be, but sometimes it is. And it's like the medical community and the law community, there's this language that it's just it can be intimidating. But yeah, so I like to look up everything that if I don't know a word, I'll look it up and I will learn it. And yeah, I think it's important to understand your own medical records. So if you don't, and a lot of people can be intimidated by, that whole aspect of it. And don't be, because, just because I think a lot of people feel intimidated by these big fancy documents, because maybe it brings out some insecurity. At least sometimes that's the way I feel. And I think that, it's just because someone has more education than you doesn't mean that they're better than you. And so when you're reading these things, or you're talking to someone that's in the medical community, or whatever, don't be intimidated. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Right? That's my little bit of advice for the day. My words of wisdom. Just because someone has more education than you doesn't mean that they're better than you. Just remember that. So if you don't know the words of something, just look them up or ask. So anyway, my point is, what was my point? Oh, my point is, so I've been reading, learning, watching all this stuff about the these COVID long haulers, and it really kind of struck a nerve in me because I'm watching it, and I am well. There's always been I'm really relating to it, and there's always been um, this kind of theory floating around that fibromyalgia or certain or chronic fatigue syndrome is caused by or was caused by a bacterial infection or a viral infection, and then that has since been like thrown out, and then other theories have come back in, and then recently I've heard some doctors actually think that that could be the case again. So while I'm listening to this, I'm thinking to myself, this maybe there really is something to this, because it's as they're going along the things, I'm checking off. I'm like, yes, 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 yes. Have you guys noticed that? Any of you guys? There are some people that are going through something where there is a known etiology, word of the day, such as Lyme disease. People that have chronic Lyme disease, obviously, it's caused by the cause. It's Lyme, and some people that it can affect them throughout their entire life. But other things, there's still a mystery. There's a big mystery. So I think that well, I don't want to say a positive. Well, yeah, I guess I will say a positive thing. A positive thing that I think is coming around from COVID-19 is that it's getting attention, and I think a lot of conditions that people are going through, they don't get the attention from the general public or from the medical community, and or the money or the funding for the medical community to do any research as to what causes them, how to treat them appropriately. And so I think that COVID is kind of bringing this up into the forefront, and I think it's helping to possibly bring these other conditions up into the forefront as well, when I think more people start noticing the connection. And I also think that another thing that's happening a good thing that's happening due to or from the pandemic is one of these at least vaccines that is it works. It's a genetic vaccine, and it works, I think, by altering. It sounds really. I don't want to turn people off from getting the vaccine, because I don't want to say that it alters your genes, because I don't know exactly what it does. Let me see if I can find something so I can be more specific. But I think that I heard that there is, because of the development of this vaccine, it's like paving the way for a whole new set of treatments and vaccines. Let me see if I can. There's an article that I was reading, and I'm going to read it to you word for word. It's an article on Wired by Megan Molteni. I hope I'm saying her name right. I'll read it to you. It says blah, 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 blah. And perhaps even more monumental is the kind of vaccine that Pfizer and BioNTech are bringing across the finish line. The active ingredient inside their shot is mRNA, mobile strings of genetic code that contain the blueprints for proteins. Cells use Cells use mRNA mRNA to get those specs out of the hard DNA storage and into their protein-making factories. The mRNA inside Pfizer and BioNTech's vaccine directs any cells it reaches to run a coronavirus spike building program. The viral proteins these cells produce can't. I want to make sure I get this right. The viral proteins these cells produce can't infect any other cells, but they are foreign enough to trip the body's defense systems. They also look enough like the real virus to train the immune system to recognize SARS-CoV-19 should its owner, meaning us, encounter the infectious virus in the future. Up until now, this technology has never been approved for use in people. A successful mRNA vaccine won't just be a triumph over the new coronavirus. It'll be a huge leap forward for the science of vaccine making. So I think if anything good came about from 2020, it's the potential for really great vaccines, and number two, I think there is the potential for a really remarkable discovery in the treatment and the understanding of some of these chronic illnesses like fibromyalgia. And I think it's going to come about from these new units that are a part of medical centers now that are specifically for studying these people that are going through, well, I guess they're called long haulers. I think the technical term is actually Post Acute COVID Syndrome patients. But these units that are now set up to treat these people, I think are really going to, this is just my opinion, and my opinion could be right, could be wrong, could change tomorrow. But I think there is really something there's going to be like kind of a remarkable discovery in how, like I said, how other conditions are managed. And I think it's really promising. At least maybe I'm just being very optimistic. But I don't know. Maybe that's just how maybe I'm just trying to process everything in a positive way. But I really do believe that. I really do. So I know that this creative journal entry got strayed a little from the normal topics and quotes, but if any of you out there are going through something where a chronic condition where there is no real treatment or doctors don't understand it completely, it kind of becomes a lot of your, I don't want to use the word obsession because I'm not obsessed with it, but it's always in the back of your mind. You know what I'm saying? Can you guys relate to that? Like you see something and like you're like, oh, I don't know. If you guys can really, please comment in the comment section below. Or maybe it's just me. But when I just noticed that some of the articles that I've been reading and some of the shows that I've been watching, they've done specials on these people that are going through after they've recovered from COVID. And it just really kind of struck a nerve with me. Because I'm like, you know what, that is kind of, that is what I go through. And doctors right now don't know the etiology, the word of the day, etiology of fibromyalgia. And I think people that are going through something similar maybe thought the same thing that I did. So that is basically all for today. I will let you guys know if I find out any additional information as it relates to this, because I'm sure this is just the first time I've spoken about this, but I'm sure there will be many, 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 many more. So if I don't get a chance to post anything until the new year, I hope you guys have a wonderful holiday season. Feel free to print out this page and do some creative journaling. And I know that it always helps me to feel better, especially during the holidays, which can be particularly stressful. So I would love for you to comment below about your thoughts about all of this. And as usual, I would love you forever if you subscribe and give me a thumbs up if you like it. And I will talk to you all again soon. Thanks. Bye.